uncertain brain constantly traces and retraces. Most popular media formulate content to cultivate the vanities of the spectators watching it. I am fascinated with death, destruction, pestilence, deprivation, and the fall of man because it reinforces my own, albeit miserable, self-righteousness. Quote, "If it bleeds, it leads," unquote, is the morbid editorial principle underpinning much of popular news and TV programming, simply because identity reinforcement, regardless of how cynical it is, delivers ad revenues. And the media suits gladly twist the knife to serve to that end. Barely 1 week after the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter and 7 others in a helicopter crash, Gayle King on CBS, interviewing WNBA's Lisa Leslie, Trepanney 2020, asked about Bryant's reputation as a philanderer. Really? Blaming her employer or network for the question is illustrative of the media's arrogance when it comes to leveraging vanity to drive eyeballs. The hyper-competition compels irresponsibility, even if it means disparaging the recently dead. If you want to know the most common uncertainty denominator of a specific demographic group, examine the media they invite to constantly prey on them in their living rooms. The more eyeballs attracted, the more primordial the motive. The fall of man has instinctive appeal. Addiction to news media that sensationalizes, even fabricates tragedy, does so because it will appeal to the spectator's vanity. The sadomasochistic inclination of extracting pleasure in the observation of someone else's suffering, at least it was not me, is the example of such validation. If I was spared, I am favored and therefore special. If I am not spared, I am the victim and therefore special. Either way, I win. But I wouldn't know I'd won without the media pumping the nonstop hot pink slime of "if it bleeds, it leads" into my brain via popular television and radio. Modern media, and not just, by the way, of course, modern digital media as well. Modern media delivers a boot, spike, pop, or slam, insert your junkie term of choice, of self-righteousness, vanity, directly on demand from our cell phones, televisions, or radios. Stopping is akin to quitting nicotine, nearly impossible. Impossible, that is, so long as my reliance on external validation, programmed since birth, remains unbroken. The only escape I've found to be reliable in severing, and I mean cutting off, that specialness instinct is embracing the certainty principle as my reality. There is something in the forever horizon that relieves me of the need to be emotionally validated, to gain emotional validation of my significance. I repeat, this is not about religion, faith, or dogma. TCP is releasing into the initially disorienting yet finally and obviously accurate brain domain where vanity-fed identity is an illusion. Once achieved, the need to feed identity, once and for all, thank God, begins to fade. Section 13.2, Burning My Resume. Few documents codify my identity better than my resume. The extremities to which I will habitually conflate and fabricate my importance for the purpose of vanity is boundless. I am unscrupulous about embellishing my story to appear smarter, more accomplished, and more attractive to gain advantages over others. Nothing evidences this lack of objectivity better than my resume. Time to burn it. Making it this far in the TCP story deserves memorialization. By a little ceremony. So print out a copy of your resume or CV, take it out in the backyard, and light it up. Why? Because nothing enthralls identity more than the intense effort I put into writing and polishing my resume. Fixating my brain on the notion that my value as a human being is the chronology of past outcomes, both factual and embellished, and listed on a couple of sheets of 8 by 11 Southworth bond linen paper. How can I remain dispassionate about the highly conditional endeavor of job seeking, particularly if I am ignorant of the selection algorithm of the applicant tracking system used to evaluate my resume? Resumes are not in and of themselves the problem, but my brain's compulsion for inflating identity is, in two important ways. When I'm job hunting, I come to see my comprehensive and intimate value as an individual in what's described in my paperwork. Therefore, when my resume is conditionally rejected, my value is rejected. An illogical but perfectly natural identity first response with a depressive effect. There are a myriad of reasons a resume is rejected, and most of them have little or nothing to do with the writer. There is a custom of making resumes rearward looking, and that creates a multitude of problems. One is that self-hindsight is seldom 20/20, and the tendency to inflate or obscure the past is powerful. Career Builder reports that 58% of employees have been caught in a lie on their resume. Tarpey, 2014. That's only those that get caught, not necessarily damaging in and of itself, unless the writer pathologically comes to believe their own fabrications. Consider Senator Elizabeth Warren's case, where ambitious ambitions drove her to fabricate her Native American heritage that she willingly perpetuated throughout her career until it was finally debunked by DNA testing. Focusing on the past has other risks, such as a tendency to get stuck there. The more I identify with the past, the more inertia to future action. The future is fresh, but the past is stale and can even become toxic when it dominates identity. The opposite is also true. The more forward-looking I am, the freer I am to take necessary actions. Leonardo da Piero da Vinci's famous letter to the Duke of Milan provides evidence in the power of this forward perspective. Candea, 2016, for which Leonardo was richly rewarded. Da Vinci's resume begins nearly every paragraph with "I will" and "I can" or "I can." There seems to be a complete lack of retrospect, as if Da Vinci understood that all statements about past achievements read as sentimental and dubious. More than ever, my resume is first and foremost a game piece in the digital winnowing of a stack of such documents, so understanding the program is a priority. That said, regardless of how you must formulate a resume, to play the game effectively, never lose track of the truth. Da Vinci's 500-year-old message has timeless wisdom. My value is not what I did and where I come from. It is my talent and my skill, and where I am going with them and what I will create. Leonardo's grand perspective on this fundamental worth is key to why I and many others are still writing about him 500 years after his death.